Hi everyone, it's Miss Price, and we're going to talk about smiley face tricks again. Today's trick is humor. We're going to take some notes in our spiral or on our computer, so let's get those ready to go. And let's start with a review of what smiley face tricks are. Remember, those are the tricks that good writers are using. They use these tricks to help their reader. It draws the reader in and makes them interested in what they're reading. Kind of helps the reader make those connections with their writing so that their readers can picture and imagine what you are too. It helps them enhance the writing and the text. Writers use smiley face tricks in order to show and not tell what's going on. Remember, we don't want to tell our reader everything. We want them to picture and imagine, so we want to show it to them. So the tricks are really good. Humor is a trick that we can use in all types of writing if we can just do it really well. Remember that there are 8 different types of smiley face tricks. Today's trick is humor. We'll look at the other 7 on another day. Now we're ready to take those notes. So get ready in your spiral or on your computer and go ahead and write down this particular definition for humor. And humor really is just the use of subtle or appropriate humor to liven up our writing. Humor kind of gives our writing some life. It lightens the moment sometimes in our writing. We just have to be careful that our humor is not insulting to our audience or in bad taste. We really have to keep our audience in mind. We have to think, will our audience find this funny or will they get their feelings hurt? Will the audience laugh about this or will they find it kind of offensive? And so when we're doing humor, it's not so much about what we find funny as much as it is about what will our audience find funny. And that's the hard part with humor, because what you think is funny may not be what your audience thinks is funny. And so we really have to keep the audience in mind. The other thing with humor is humor does not have to be that slap your knee and laugh out loud kind of humor. Humor really can be subtle. It can be just that kind of chuckle or that kind of smile that comes to your face when you see something that you think is funny. Now, these are all different types of humor. There's lots of types of humor, so these are just a few. And you'll see them in everything. You'll see them in movies and you'll read about them or you'll see people do them. But they're all different. Some are appropriate at different times. You just really have to know when to use that type of humor and what your audience will think about it. All right, I'm going to show you some examples of humor. It's kind of hard sometimes to show good examples because sometimes you have to know the book or know the background of the story in order to really get the fact that particular example is funny. So I'm going to show you some examples. Some you might find funny, some you might not. It just depends. But we're going to go ahead and see if we can figure out a couple of examples of humor. Now, this first one is from a book called Backwater. The main character is a girl, and she is pretty spunky, full of life. She's sarcastic and doesn't mind telling you where she stands in life and what she's thinking. And that's kind of what makes this funny. Mountain Mama said the second rule of wilderness survival was learning to rely on yourself. I felt like I was living a how-to bestseller, and I wasn't so sure if I wanted to know the end. I trudged behind her and said, maybe we could find another word than survival. And she said that the cornerstone of a meaningful life was being hurled into the jaws of death and coming out the other side. So it's a good little example of humor, just keeping in mind of the character and the sarcasm that she has. Now I'd like to show you one from Hunger Games. This one was when Katniss was thinking about who the people would be that would dress her for the ceremony, the designers, and what clothes they would put her in. And she says, I just hope I get one who doesn't think nudity is the last word in fashion. And that's kind of subtle humor because it makes us laugh about nudity actually being fashion and her worry about that. Now some examples from students. They put these in their writing, and I thought they were pretty good examples of humor. I really like this first one because she actually makes us work for it. She doesn't come right out and say what's supposed to be funny. We have to infer it by looking at it, and that's why I really like it. We decided to make a milkshake in the blender. After putting in all the ingredients, we turned it on. Well, let's just say I got the first taste of the milkshake. And that one makes us laugh out loud because we've either done it ourselves or we've seen someone do it, or we can picture and imagine not putting the lid on a blender and watching it go everywhere. And so that's kind of a little subtle bit of humor. The next one, standing in line almost 2 hours. I swear a snail could have gone faster. And that's that kind of exasperated humor you can use. And then the last one, Finally, my face finds the steps. And it was just a real quick way of dropping humor into the paper, which I thought was pretty good. And part of the humor in that is we all laugh when people fall down for some reason, and that's what kind of makes that one funny. This last one is a good one because it's kind of a play on words, and it's a good one to show, again, a little bit of sarcasm. No, but it is about time you get a cute little poodle. Poodle? Great. The most unmanly thing a man could get. Next, I could get a purse, maybe start my own book club named Beautiful Books, and have my business cards engraved with pink lettering. So again, this is just her example of dropping in a little bit of humor, a little bit of sarcasm into her story. All right, we have some reminders I would like you to write down in your spiral or on your computer. And just a reminder again, you must keep your audience in mind. And that's a big, huge reminder. So that's why I'm bringing it up again, that it really is about what does your audience find humorous, not what you find funny. Make sure that you use a reference on humor that your audience is familiar with. Sometimes we get caught up in that, oh, you just had to be there kind of humor. And if that's the case, then don't use it. If your audience wouldn't understand your humor because they don't have enough background knowledge or enough experiences, or they would have had to be there, then don't use that humor. It's not funny to them. Be careful that your humors are not put downs. You don't want to pick on one person or call one person out. You want to make sure that if you're putting anyone down, it's probably you, that kind of self-deprecating humor. It needs to liven up your writing. It should be lightening the moment. So even if you have a very serious text, grandpa died or something, you can still throw in a little bit of humor to kind of lighten the mood, lighten the moment. And humor probably should be subtle. Don't make it obvious. Don't put it all out there like telling us jokes outright and think that that's showing humor. Humor really should be something very subtle that your characters would weave into the story. At this point, we really can't practice humor. It's got to be something that you try to weave into your writing naturally. So as you're working in your writer's notebooks over the course of the next couple of weeks, try to throw in humor every now and then into your entries and see if you can practice just tossing it in and giving that little bit of subtle humor every now and then. So just make sure you're practicing humor. Thanks a lot, guys.